Okay, everybody, I think we can get started. Welcome to this workshop and webinar, How to Get Media Interested in Your Story. We are going to be looking at ways that you can frame and reanalyze and present your pro-animal story to get mainstream media attention. Today, we are joined by Heidi Røneid, who is a Norwegian journalist, TV presenter, podcast host, chess commentator, and if that's not enough, a vegan activist who's been working for 18 years in different broadcasters in Norway. She is even a celebrity in Norway and has taken parts in shows such as The Traitor and even some other TV shows. She's been interviewed in several radio shows, podcasts, TV shows, and newspaper articles. She's been a vegan for 18 years and has been an animal rights activist for even longer, 19 years. In this workshop, she will share how the media works and how you can get them interested in your cause. So with that, I will pass it to Heidi. Thank you so much, and I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much, Björn. When I was 11 years old, I was in the cinema, a local cinema where I live, and we watched a new Norwegian film. And on the way out from the theater, me and my two friends were stopped by a local newspaper journalist who asked us what we thought about the movie. And I was so happy and so proud that a journalist, wanted to hear my thoughts about something. And if you look at me, 11-year-old here, you can really see how happy I was. And the goal of this webinar is to make it more possible for you guys to have the same amazing feeling of having journalists interested in what you want to talk about, so that you can feel just as good as 11-year-old me. So after I was interviewed for the first time in my life, I've been working for a journalist for many years. I've been interviewed several places, and I'm also a chess commentator in Norway. I also started Oslo Vegetar Festival, a vegetarian or vegan festival in Oslo. And when I'm being interviewed by the media about anything, as often as possible, I try to talk about animal rights and about veganism and why I should eat less meat. Like in the example in the middle here with the text, that's in the largest newspaper in Norway, where I'm talking about why I haven't eaten meat for 26 years. So how can you get journalists interested in your story? The essence of this talk is to give the journalists what they want at the same time as you get what you want. Because what you want the journalists to be interested in your story. You want them to write about your animal rights work or your vegan festival or your organization. But the journalists, they often don't want to write about your work. They're looking for something else. They're looking for really, really good stories. So what the journalists really want, they want a good story that can spark curiosity for the reader or viewer or listener. The story has to be easy to understand. If it's too complicated, then people will fall off and then they won't continue to read or continue to listen. And in these days, there are really, really good tools that show the journalists and the newspapers, especially when it's online, how long people read and how easy they fall off. So they want them to read the whole story, to be interested all the way through. They also want the story to be original. If something has been written about several times before, it's not really that interesting. And what all journalists dream of is that when someone has been reading or listening or viewing their piece, that when they come to work the next day and meet their colleagues at lunchtime, they talk about this story. If that happens, then the journalist has really, really succeeded. And as you probably have noticed, they also very often want a case in the story. Even though it's about something that has to do with numbers, they normally want to zoom in really, really close and have it be about one person. You probably often see that about if there's a new story about how the price of food has increased so much, They'll have the numbers information, but they'll also talk to one family who is affected by this personally. So what the journalists don't like and what they don't want is that they don't want to be told what to do. They don't like it if you call them and say, hi, I want you to write a story about me, because journalists are independent people. They're looking for the truth, and they do not want to be a PR person or an advertisement for someone. They want to be right about the story, and that's like the main goal for them. They do not want to be a PR person for your, or a microphone for your cause. So when we know what the media wants, we have to think about, okay, what do I want and how can I give them what they want? The first example in this webinar is of a Norwegian influencer called Hanne-Lene Dahlgren. Some years ago, she wanted to start a recipe blog and be an influencer on Instagram, and she also wanted to give out a recipe book. And to do that, what she needed was a lot of followers for her Instagram profile and her blog. So she wanted media to write about her so that people could be aware of her, and then she would get more followers. But how many people think that if she called a journalist and said, hi, I'm going to start a recipe blog, can you write about me? Do you think the media would be interested? No, probably not. Maybe like a really, really local newspaper, if she's from a really small place, maybe, because it has some local relevance. But the mainstream media in Norway would not write about that, because that happens all the time. Probably hundreds of people at that time started a new blog or became an influencer every single day. It's nothing original. So she had to think, well, what's original about my story? How can I get the media interested in me and my story to write about me? And then I will also get publicity around my blog. So the thing about Hanne-Lene is that she quit her job and she had a really interesting job. She decided to quit her job in Google to write about food that contains vegetables. So she spoke to a journalist, and she actually got a piece in one of the largest newspapers in Norway. And the title of the talk is, she had a safe job in Google, then she got interested in vegetables. The analyst made a decisive change and let go of her dream job. So here are some words that journalists really like, and that readers really like, because what journalists want is often the same as what the reader wants. They want it to be original, interesting. So the words here are that Hanne-Lene, she had a safe job in Google. That's very interesting. Like if you work in Google in Norway, that's major. You are really, really good at what you do. Not many people do it, and it's amazing work. And then she decided to let go of her dream job. And this sparks curiosity with the reader wants to know, why did she quit her job? A lot of readers also have their own dream. Maybe not us who work for animal rights and good things in the world, but a lot of activists, they have a dream of opening a cafe, or they want to write a book, or they want to become travel influencers. And they really quit their job to do this, but they're never there. So they're really interested in, how did this go? They want to read about why Hanne-Lene did this and how it went. So again, here Hanne-Lene got what she wanted. She got publicity for about herself, and then obviously it's very natural for her to mention during this interview where her blog is, and people will try to find it, and then she will get more followers. And the media gets what they want. They want a good story. When you media, there are certain things that it's really good to think about. There are several ways to do it. I'm going to look into two of them here. One of them is a press release, and the other is if you write a direct email to a journalist. But if you're writing a press release, then it's really important that you have an interesting title. It has to capture the interest of the journalist straight away. You should also send them good pictures. A lot of magazines or newspapers, they will print the press release, or at least use it as like the base of an article and then spin off from that. So it's really important that you write it like an article, that you use they, you don't write we, because think that you're a journalist writing an article about what you are writing the press release about. It's also really important that you use quotes, and that if there are any opinions, when you see an article, opinions can only be in the quotes. Because if opinions are in the text, in Norwegian we call it bread text, I'm not sure what you call it in English, the text in between the quotes, that's kind of the opinion of the journalist. So, or it's kind of the journalist voice. So it can't be any opinions there, they have to be in the quote. Excuse me. And it's also really important that you send the press release to specific journalists. Everyone should have like a CRM system or some kind of system where you write down every time you read an article that's about something related to what you do for work, write down the name, and if you have the contact details of the journalist who's working on it and the newspaper, and a link to the piece. So when you contact a journalist, contact them directly. Like if you're sending in your press release to me, write "Hi Heidi," and then so I understand that it's personal for me. So the next example is from Oslo Vegetar Festival, which is the festival me and a colleague started in 2010. It's normally in the last weekend of May, and it was this year as well. And the festival is like this really fun festival. We have loads of really delicious food. We have a cheesemaker, vegan cheesemaker from Sweden coming over. We have a mini pig who's walking around the area. He's like a dog, so it's and he loves all the attention. He's like a superstar walking around. So it's very like, he loves being there. We're not exploiting him in any way. He just loves being there. And we also have like lots of talks and debates and cooking classes and things like that. And this year we really wanted publicity around the festival, but we've been doing it for so many years, and it's a food festival. It's really not that special compared to a lot of other festivals, like food festivals, except that it's vegan. But it is actually really special, of course, but you know what I mean. But for the journalists, it might not be. So we were thinking, how can we get journalists interested in the festival this year? What can we kind of show them that's going to spark an interest, that's going to be original, that's going to be different, that's going to make them want to cover our festival? So we decided that let's do this. We sent out a press release where the title was "Pig Headliner at Plant-Based Festival," and then the a little piece underneath: "The organizers of Oslo Vegetar Festival wants to inspire people to eat more green by offering tempting food and letting the audience meet a pig." So we decided to make that Helmer, he's a headliner at the festival, and to kind of, it's kind of like, it sparks a little curiosity. It's a bit weird, because if you're a non-animal rights activist or a vegan, or even if you are, it kind of is like, why is a pig headlining a plant-based festival? And you haven't read about it before. It's original, it's a bit strange, quirky, so it sparks interest. And we got so much press. We got the most press that we ever got. To the right is the largest news show in Norway, at the largest TV channel in Norway. And this is like prime time, 7 o'clock Saturday evening, prime time news time. And they came to the festival and made a piece about the pig being, and about how we should eat more Norwegian plant-based food. They have hundreds of thousands of viewers, which is a lot in Norway because we're not that big a country. We also got coverage on the largest morning show, that's to the left at the top, where my colleague Odd Harold, who's sitting in the couch, went to the morning show with the pig Helmer and the mom of the pig, and and the woman to the left is the presenter, and talked about the festival and why we had a pig as a headliner. We were also in the middle, in the picture on the bottom, it's like the largest commercial radio show in a morning show in Norway. They came and covered the festival, and a lot of other different radio stations as well. So it was a great success, just because we kind of managed to think a little bit outside the box and thought, okay, what do the media want? They think it's kind of quirky and fun with the pig being a headliner at a plant-based festival. And what do we want? Yeah, we want, of course, publicity for our festival. And the festival is 2 days, so we had a lot of press before the festival and also during the weekend. The next example is about how to get more press if you already have press. So this is back in 2010. This is an old example. There were two organizations who were Network for Animal Freedom and the Norwegian Society for Protection of Animals. They were going into farms at night, and they were filming and taking pictures of the animals living there to show the public. And they had a big exposure in 2010, showing pictures of hurt animals and dead animals in cages and animals with stereotypic behavior and a lot of things like that. And then the fur industry, they also talked in the media and said this is not representative for the whole fur industry. This is just some rotten apples. And they tried to kind of make the activists' work seem not correct. And so the organizations were thinking like, okay, what can we do to get more press? Because they wanted, of course, when you have an exposure case like this, you want it to be in the media for as long as possible. So that means you have to have follow-up pieces all the time. And also they wanted to hit the Fur Association and to kind of discredit what they were saying. So what they decided to do is that they decided to go into the fur farm of the chairman of the Fur Association. And they went there in the weekend and they took pictures and filmed animals. And then they sent a tip to the food authorities in where he lives or lived. And they said that they found injured and dead animals. And then the food authorities, because in Norway, the food authorities are responsible for all animals, even though they're not supposed to, like, even there for fur, for example. So the food authorities went to his farm uninvited and had an investigation there. And they also found injured and dead animals at his farm. And this was major also in Norwegian press, because now they have exposed kind of like the top guy in the fur industry. He's the chairman of the board of the Fur Alliance, and he also had injured and dead animals in his farm. And it wasn't only the activists that saw it, it was also the local food authorities. So that discredited everything that he said in media. He was asked to come and speak to the minister of who's responsible for this. And it was a major hit for the Fur Alliance. Again, just because they thought outside the box, how can we get more press on this case that we've already been working on? They had already published a lot of pictures from a lot of other farms, but they found a different angle in. And also, it's the media tends to like it if people at the top are being exposed, like if they are kind of high and everything is fine, and then it turns out that they're not telling the truth. So again, they give the journalists what they want at the same time, which is like a good case, a good story about the chairman not being anything better than the other people that they've seen pictures from, that it's not true that it's rotten apples in Fur Alliance, and they get more press and keep the case warm for longer. And while we're talking about fur, I just have to bring this example. It's a little bit on the side, but I just think it's really important also when you interact with the journalist, just keep in mind how you present yourself. If you're talking to journalists, if you're meeting them, if you are being on a debate show like here, this is a debate from 10, 12 years ago when there was a Norwegian activist who had been filming undercover in firm farms, and then a representative from the fur industry. So if you look at these two pictures, who do you think is the representative from the fur industry, and who do you think is the representative from the animal rights organization? I can't see any, like, I don't know if you're writing anything, so I'm just going to say, because when I had this example in a different talk, I think 90 to 95% of the people in the room thought that the guy with the long hair was a representative from the animal rights organization, and the guy with the short hair was a representative from the fur industry, but it's actually the opposite. And I know a lot of people are, and I do too, I think it's really important that you can be who you are, that you can dress or look the way that you want. It's really important. But when we're all fighting the cause for the animals, it's really, really important that people feel that they are kind of like us. So if we're too different from the people that we want to reach, they might not relate to us, and then they might not listen to what we're saying, or they might not relate to our message. So bear that in mind when you're talking to the media. And I also think this was a very, very good thing for the activists working against the fur industry, that the fur industry had a representative that many people felt were a bit different than themselves. Did I say that the fur industry was being shut down? I don't know, but in 2018, the Norwegian government decided to stop fur farming in Norway, and now we have no more fur farms in Norway, and it's thanks to the guys that did all this work, amongst a lot of other people. Okay, so the next example is, which is also the last example, is when you're going to send an email to someone and contact the journalist directly to get a case. This is to get your story across. This is probably most relevant if you are wanting to be interviewed in a radio show, or but also like in a written article. It's again very important to contact specific journalists. Go back and look in your CRM system or your list of journalists who has written something about this before, or who has interviewed someone about something like this before. Find a way to spark curiosity, and also give examples of what you can talk about. It's very important that you don't give the journalist, tell the journalist again what you want them to ask you, but show them what you can offer. It's kind of like you're holding up a plate to them with loads of different food, and then they can pick themselves what they are interested in. We also have a Christmas market in the festival, and last year we really wanted to get press for the Christmas market, but there are many Christmas markets in Norway, and this was the second time we're going to have it, but there had been like someone else having a plant-based Christmas market before, so it was not really the first time either. So we needed to find a way to make this case interesting for people or the journalists without time. So we sent this email. Radio shows. We decided we wanted to go on radio shows. So I wrote, I'm hosting Oslo Vegetar Festival's Christmas market this weekend, and was wondering if you'd be interested in a guest talking about plant-based Christmas food. I can, for example, talk about, so here I'm kind of saying I can talk about plant-based Christmas food, which is kind of I'm not saying I'm going to talk about the Christmas market. I'm making it relevant by saying there is a Christmas market plant-based this weekend, but I can talk about plant-based Christmas food. And then I said, I can, for example, talk about more and more people want to eat less meat. The Christmas dinner is maybe holy, but what can you eat if you want to change one of the other dinners for a plant-based Christmas dinner? And then also, what can you do if you get a vegetarian or vegan visitor for Christmas? Both if you have the time to plan, and if you didn't know that they were coming, don't have time to plan, the stores are closed, and you have to use what you have in your pantry. So here I'm kind of making a scene for them, because then the journalists can think, and also the listener can think, oh no, what if my child's partner has all of a sudden gone vegetarian or vegan, or what if one of my friends are coming over and they're kind of visualizing this problem, and then they hear, oh, there is a solution. I really want to know this solution. So then I'm sparking interest again, trying to give the journalist what they want, and at the same time getting what I want, which is coming to the radio to talk about. Of course, I really want to talk about plant-based Christmas food as well, because I think that's very, very important. But I also want to talk about the Christmas market. And then just right at the end, if you have if you want to read more about the Christmas market, you can do here. And here also we got a lot of press. I think we were in 4 different radio shows talking about plant-based Christmas food, and also got to mention the Christmas market.